So typically my shows are geared towards the Black community and everything, but I want to get back to like something that I'm real passionate about, and that's the topic of leadership. And I have a very special guest this week. And I admire this guy because what he has done, like I saw him start this Facebook group about leading with integrity. And I just remember it starting out really, really small. And then it just exploded. And I just love his consistency, his dedication to what he does, the transparency, the platform that he gives to other people through this. And so I'm gonna let him dive in. But Louie, tell people a little bit about yourself.
For people who do not know me, I'm a first generation immigrant. I immigrated to the United States about 22 years ago. And I remember when I got to this country, I was 17 years old. I didn't have any guidance, any mentors, anybody to lead me through life. And I started to look for, role models. I couldn't find any. I was living in Toledo, Ohio with, 6 people living in a small apartment. And I finally went to the library and I picked up a book for Jim Rome. And I started reading this book and I loved it. And then I went back and I bought another book. And I got a book for 7 Habits for Stephen Covey, and then another book for Zig Ziglar. So I started, I didn't have any mentors. So I started to have books as my mentor. I would read those books and I said, you know what? I cannot meet John Maxwell, but I can follow his guidance here in this book.
Right.
So I started reading those books, and back then you would listen to cassette, right? That's before YouTube. So I would listen to cassette. And I loved everything those guys were teaching me. So when I started Lead with Integrity, I wanted to be that role model for so many people that have none. I wanted to build a platform where you could come in, ask your questions, answer other people's questions, feel supported, respected, and loved in the group. Because, everybody has a story, and I was interested in your story, not mine. So I build this group to be a platform for you to feel supported. And at the same time, I build it for people who need mentorship, for people who needs leadership. So they could come in this group and have that connection with people. But before I build a group, because I don't want people to think from 1999 till now, everything happened quickly. I struggled a lot. I suffered. Right. I remember I told you I lived 6 people in a small apartment. And I remember spending a lot of holidays alone. I slept on the floor. I struggled with anxiety. I dealt with depression. I get mocked for speaking with an accent. Right? I got bullied for being short. But on those long nights and hard days, I always reminded myself to keep fighting.
Right.
To keep fighting. So when I built this group, I wanted you to have a place where we remind you daily to keep the fight on, because nothing comes easy. And for me, I did not arrive, right? Even in the long nights, I used to deliver donuts at night. In the morning, I would work at IHOP. So I was doing everything that I could to go back to college. But one thing was consistent in my journey. I've never had a role model, right? As first generation immigrant, I'm Lebanese. We don't have a lot of big communities back then. So I followed this book. So that's the story of Lead with Integrity. It's your platform to feel supported, valued, and respected, and get all your questions answered for free.
That's awesome. So I remember starting in this group, and it was maybe 200 people. And then next thing I know, it's thousands. Kind of explain, what did you do to explode that following? And it happened, it seemed like overnight.
The group has really 3 main anchors, right? Number 1, lead with integrity. Right? And when we talk about integrity for me, it's about your ability to be honest, consistent, and accountable. And when I talk about honesty, I'm not saying you need to be honest with your wife or your spouse or your friends. That's important. But there's a critical aspect of honesty. It's being honest with yourself. Can you look in the mirror every day and say, and answer this question, did I do my best today? Did I do my best being a great friend? Did I do my best being a great employee? Did I do my best being a great business owner? So that's the honesty that I talk about. So every night before I go to sleep, I ask myself, did I do my best to promote this group? And if the answer is no, Next day, it's okay. The next day, I would just work harder. Second thing, I needed to be accountable because that's what integrity is all about, right?
Right.
Ownership. Can I own this group so other can own it? And the third thing, I need to be consistent. So
Yeah.
regardless what happened, I had every day 3 big goals for the group. And I would wake up every day, I would live every day and deliver those 3 goals, right? I wanted to invite 10 people every day to the group.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted I wanted to write 3 posts every day in the group. I wanted to go live at least 3 times a week. So I had those goals that I show up every day, right? If it's 1, 10, or 100, I gave it my all. And when you do like this, when you show your passion, people will come with you, right?
Right.
Because the unique thing about leadership, it's not about asking people to follow you. It's about asking people to come with you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we all figuring this thing out. That's called
Right.
leadership. Leadership is
Right.
a team sport. So those are the 3 anchors that help me. But the other 2 anchors in the group is lead with empathy and lead with urgency,
Mm.
right? Because
Mm.
for us, what's happening in our society today, not a lot of people have urgency.
Right.
A lot of people have goals, right?
Right.
I want to do this. I want to do this. Well, do you have any urgency behind them? No, I don't.
Right.
Well, that's why I love to lead with urgency. And
Mm-hmm.
the third thing is lead with empathy, right? If I
Yep.
sit down with you and I listen to you to connect, not to correct you, we can
Right.
build that form and that bond,
Right.
and that's how we build teams.
Man, that's awesome. So lead with integrity. Can you lead without integrity?
You can, but in my perspective, it's not leadership, right?
Right.
Because if you read about John Maxwell and other people and Brene Brown, when we talk about leadership, we talk about influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that keeps the window open. You could have a good influence and a bad influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could, some people they come in the room and you feel the air is fresher. Some people
Mm-hmm.
leave the room
Mm-hmm.
and you feel the air is fresher, right?
Right.
So you could have both way. Yes, you could lead with integrity, but in my opinion, that's not leadership. That's dictatorship, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can, because I don't want to say like it's only one way to lead. No, there's a lot of people there's not a lot of way to lead. And I know this is not a subject for a lot of people. Hitler was a leader. Wasn't a good leader,
Right.
right? But it was a
Right.
leader. He was able to deliver results. He was able to build teams. But he wasn't a good leader. He was a leader without integrity, right? And our society today, if we lack anything, we lack integrity, we lack empathy, and we lack urgency. And
Mm-hmm.
if any issue that you have in life, if you sit down with it, say, am I leading with integrity? Do I have urgency? Do I have empathy? You could solve most of your problems if you just follow those 3 anchors.
It's interesting that you say that, and kind of in my leadership career, I've noticed that, especially leading other leaders, it's difficult to those. So the integrity piece, like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have any leaders work for me that I can't trust, that I don't feel is leading. But those other two, the empathy and the urgency, it's hard to find leaders that can do both, because it seems like the leaders that have the urgency have a lot less empathy. And then the leaders with empathy tend to lack a little urgency because they're being empathetic. So how do you get them to do both?
So that's actually a great question, Jarvis. Before I didn't mention this on video. I watched your leadership course in Udemy
Mhm.
about 2 years ago, and I admire everything that you do. And the irony of this, you're right, having somebody with integrity, with empathy and urgency, that's not easy to find, right? But did I mention leadership was easy? It's not,
Right,
right? It's not.
right.
So for me, what do I look for when, let's say, I recruit people, hire people? Because for a lot of people do not know this, I manage a health department, right? We have 17 team members here, and we do great things, specifically with COVID-19. And I'm building my coaching and consulting business on the side so I could, do it full time. So what I teach people, it's the things that I follow. So I'm not teaching people things that I don't do. So
Mhm.
how do I recruit people? Number one, I look for somebody who has integrity, honest, consistent, and accountable, right? And the best predictor of somebody's behavior, future behavior, is his best behavior,
Mhm.
right? So you bet if I'm hiring you, Jarvis, you bet I'm gonna know your second grade teacher's name, right? Because I want to
Right.
know I want to know if I put pressure on Jarvis, how is he going to act? How is he going to react? Right?
Hmm.
So I look for integrity. Second thing, I look for intelligence. Right? What I
Hmm.
mean by intelligence is your IQ, but what I really mean is, are you able to do the job? Are you able to deliver results? Are you able to
Competent.
work with other people?
Mm-hmm.
Just I want you to be competent. And number three, that's where urgency come from, is initiative. Do you have the drive? Do you have the passion? Do you have the love for what we're trying to do? Right? Because leadership, anybody can be leaders, but I don't think everybody should be a leader.
Hmm.
Right? Because if you don't want to serve people, please don't lead. So for me, and that's the thing, for a lot of people say anybody can be a leader. Yes, but doesn't mean they should be a leader, right?
Right.
Anybody could be an Uber driver, but not everybody should drive an Uber, right? So and that's the irony of leadership. It's like you hear this a lot. It's like, well, anybody can be a leader. Yeah, but not everybody should be a leader. Anybody could be a father. Not everybody should be a father.
Right.
So for me, those three things I look for is I want you to have integrity, intelligence, and initiative, right? Because for me, drive is so important, because if you're not self-driven, there's nothing I could do. There's nothing I can do to help you
Hmm.
drive yourself, right?
Hmm.
You're an adult. I'm not gonna, because for me, like I tell people, as a leader, I'm willing to light a fire under you, but as a leader yourself, you have to light a fire inside of you,
Right.
right? So if
Right.
I'm okay for me to create urgency from outside, but you have to be internal driven.
Man, that's good. So I heard you say that you didn't really have any mentors and you just kind of relied on books. Has that changed, or do you have mentors now?
Oh man, I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. I have a lot of people that mentors me, a lot of people that coach me. Um, I'm just so blessed. You know, God, Jarvis, God have given me more than I deserve.
Hmm.
I'm surrounded with great team right now. I'm surrounded with great people that guide me every day.
Hmm.
You know, one of my friend, you know, he probably listen to this, Nestor Lima. I met him in Toastmaster, and the guy is an amazing father, right? So when
Hmm.
it comes to all things fatherhood, I listen to him, right? I
Hmm.
have a friend of mine, Ed, that is a great businessman. When it comes to business, I listen to him. I have another friend who's visionary, like he's great at vision, great at strategy. So if I need to strategize, I talk to him. Absolutely, I have multiple leaders that around me surrounded me in order for me to do what I do. Yeah, this is a team sport, Jarvis.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any like public figures or celebrities that you kind of look to that kind of inspire you, or you get kind of like leadership guidance from?
You know, it's almost, you know, John Maxwell,
Okay.
right? John Maxwell, it's a man that I respect. Uh, for main reason is his integrity, right? The man has been
Hmm.
consistent for the last 30
Hmm.
years, right?
Hmm.
My idea of leadership is a little bit different than him, and that's
Okay.
okay because it challenges me. Because his idea of leadership, it's more you know, character driven, right? So it's always you got to work on yourself, work on yourself, work on
Right.
yourself. But
Right.
I truly believe we are hired as a leader to do three things, right?
Hmm.
We're hired to deliver results, we're hired to build teams, and we are hired to build cultures.
Hmm.
So and he focused more about building yourself before build other people. So that's the foundation. But for me, I truly believe the reason that people hire us is to deliver results, to
Right.
perform a task. But John Maxwell, anybody who's interested in leadership, start reading for John Maxwell. If you read just one book for John Maxwell a year, I guarantee you your IQ will increase every year.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I've definitely. So I actually modeled my strong leadership class that you took. You say you took a couple years ago. After, so I read some John Maxwell stuff several years ago, and it was probably back in 2012. And I mean, I just was like, wow, like he has this leadership thing really figured out, like things that. But the biggest piece I took from it was the servant part, because again, like if you're not in the people business, you can't lead. You know, if you're, to me, if you're just a numbers driven leader, you will never be able to be effective. And because the people is what help you get the results. The people, and when they're happy, when they're well trained, when they're going to be at peak productivity. But when you don't take care of the people and you just run the people in the ground, you don't care about the people, like you're always going to be on that hamster wheel, just hiring more people because they dislike the job, and you're going to just be continuing to just chase these numbers. But when your people are happy, your people are going to take care of you. They're going to make you happy. They're going to make you a lot of money, right? So that was one of the major things I took away, because I think that was one thing I was missing from my leadership at that point, because I didn't look at it that way. Even though I was always good to my people, I still found myself kind of, well, I got to hit this metric. I got to hit this. I got to do this, right? And being able to just totally transform my mind to understand that, no, everything is about these people that I've been given to lead. Like this is my best resource. And hey, my metric may struggle for a couple of months while I'm making sure that my team understands what to do. But guess what? Once I get the people fixed, and then they fix the processes, and they fix everything that's broken, that's affecting the metric, once they're fixed, my results are going to be sustainable. And I'm not going to have to, I'm never going to have to look back at that.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And that's what I like about John Maxwell. And Patrick Lencioni is another author that I read and follow. It is about people, right? It is a team sport. And if you are able to build a good team, you don't have to worry about anything else. Your job
Correct.
is done. Your job is completely done. But, I always say you got to learn and earn, right? So every day on the job, you got to learn something to earn the money that you're getting. And your team gets you there a lot closer, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, like a lot of people think, there's, as a leader, if you lead team, there's 5 things that I do, right? And I have a checklist. Number 1, I communicate daily with my team, right? If it's a shoulder tap or just looking at them, say, how are you, right? Right. Mm-hmm. And I have a term called Ford, right? So for you, in order for you to lead your team, you have to know their Ford. F stands for their families, right? The O stands for their obstacles. R for recreation, what they try to do for recreation. And D stands for their dreams. In order for you to get to know your team, you got to know their Ford, right?
I love that.
So you cannot lead somebody you don't know. Honestly, you cannot lead somebody you don't know, right? So wow. In order for you to lead your team, you got to know their Ford. So that's number 1 thing I do every day. Did I do my Ford with them? Did I listen to them, right? Because if I have a team member, right, you bet I know his son's birthday. I care about them. You bet I will. Second thing, I create urgency, right? Every day. How do I create urgency in my team? I ask about deadlines, about quality, about quantity, right? Because I got to know you first. I know you're capable of doing this one. Now let's create urgency. How we create urgency? We talk about deadlines, quality, and quantity every day. Mm-hmm. We need to deliver results. Third thing I do, I delegate and elevate, right? I delegate things that I know you're not capable of. Actually, wow. I give you things to do before I know you're ready. And that's why I give them to you.
Right.
When you're ready, I find somebody else to delegate this for, right? Because in your job, it doesn't matter what you do. You're always interviewing for the next job.
Right.
And your interview is not the 1 hour that I sit face to face with you. Mm-hmm. I'm interviewing you every day. Yeah. Right? So that's how I elevate. The third thing is I create a healthy culture. And a lot of people, when they talk about culture, they complicate the world. So, culture for me, it's 2 things. It's reward the things that you want to see and do not tolerate the things that you don't want to see. Right? So if Jarvis, if you work for me and I see you go above and beyond to serve a customer, guess what? I'm going to acknowledge that in front of everyone. Hey, Jarvis, great way. Yeah. I want to build, a business built based on service. And the second thing, if I see you doing something you don't know, or we don't desire, you bet I'm going to call you out on it. Right? Yeah. That's how you build a culture. You reward and you do not tolerate the things that you don't want to see. And the 5th one that I do every day, I solve problems. And how do I solve problems? You have a lot of leaders and they would tell you, it's like, hey, don't bring to me any problem if you don't have a solution for, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's the wrong mindset, right? If you do that, people will start hiding their problems away.
Right.
So I want Jarvis, it doesn't matter what your problem is. If it is, you're homeschooling your children, or you cannot finish a project. Bring it to me. Let's work it together, right? So how do I solve a problem? I have an acronym called STARE. S, we have specific problem, right? I, we talked about implementing a solution, and we review the solution. And then the third thing that we do, we review it. We come back a month later. It's like, how's everything going, right? Leadership is about following up with your team, making sure that they're okay to be able to deliver results. So those are the 5 components of leadership. So you communicate daily, you create urgency, you delegate, you create a culture, and you solve problems. If you hide from problems, you shouldn't lead, because leadership is about finding those problems faster than anybody else, first, going farther, finding those problems, make sure that you have solution for them before become bigger problems.
Awesome. Kind of shifting gears. So I'm sure we've all encountered bad leaders, toxic leaders. What impact do they have on an organization?
Wow. When I work at IHOP, I got fired. And I was 24 years old, making good money. And I remember the manager was saying something very simple. And he said, get the F out of here, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
took my Abram off uh, and put it in my car. And I was senior in college, so I needed the money. In my way home, I made 2 decisions. I'm going to be so good at what I do that I don't have to introduce myself anymore. And the second thing, I will never have one source of income.
Mm.
And that was 16 years ago. Until this day, I kept those commitments to myself. So when you talk about, having working with toxic leaders and bad leaders, I'm not going to name this guy that forced me to shift my paradigm about how I live. I became so good at what I do, and I've never had one source of income since that day. And that's why I'm capable of, building a health department and building consulting, coaching business. I probably could do one and be happy, but that incident made me always believe I should never have one source of income.
That's a great, I mean, that's oh man, that's amazing. So that's what I was going to say. I was going to say something similar. Like, I've learned just as much from horrible leaders or toxic leaders as I have from great ones, because you learn so much about what not to do. If you study them and you see what, because if they're a toxic leader, multiple people find them to be horrible leaders or bad leaders. And you can kind of see those things that they're doing that are misguided steps, or maybe they don't know how to talk to people. Maybe they're not servant. Maybe, you can spot those things and, like, don't do that. Because sometimes stop doing something is just as impactful as start doing something, right? To your team. So a lot of times I have check-ins with my team, and I kind of have this start stop kind of thing, like, what should I start doing, what should I stop doing, that kind of thing. And those stops are so important, because your team doesn't want to see you do that. And those toxic leaders, you can see so much of that you know automatically what not to do. So even if you're, so let's say you're a new leader in your role, and you don't have, all the answers at the organization just yet, but 100% what not to do, especially as a new leader coming in, because you saw it modeled at, place A, where you had this toxic leader. So now that you're at place B, you know a lot more of, steps. And also, you said something that I really like. You said that you wanted to be so good that no one would have to ask your name. And, we also touched on, what public figure kind of inspires you. And it reminds me of a public figure that inspires me, which is Kobe Bryant, which we lost earlier this year. He inspired me so much because he was so driven, and he worked so hard to be the best player in the league. And that's what the result he got on the floor, because he outworked everybody. And, so much of leadership is, having these soft skills and, being servant and all that. But part of it is, I just got to outwork everybody to be great at what I do, so that, one, I can lead people better, because, one, I'm walking the walk.
Yeah.
And if you were to talk to any of Kobe's teammates, they'll tell you he was hard on them. But he may have been hard on him, but nobody on that team was outworking him. Right when he passed away, I was watching, every sports outlet was covering everything. And there was one of his former opponents, a guy by the name of Jay Williams, who was a former NBA player as well. He was talking about his rookie year in the league. And he saw Kobe Bryant. They were playing the Lakers that night. He saw Kobe Bryant on the court when he got there to shoot around. And Jay Williams thought he got there early, but he didn't beat Kobe Bryant to practice. Jay Williams was early, but Kobe was already getting his shots up. And Kobe was already the one or two best player in the league, but he's still in there getting his shots up before everybody else. And so Jay Williams said he's in there and he's doing his thing, and practice is over. Kobe's still in there working. Everybody else is left again. Kobe's still in there working. And Jay was just like, I gotta go. But he said he grabbed his stuff, he walked out, and he said he walked back in and he asked Kobe, he said, "Why are you still here?" He said, "Because I want you to know you're never gonna outwork me."
And
that's powerful. This guy was highly revered as the best player in the league at that point. But yet he's letting this rookie know that, no matter what happens out here tonight, you're not going to outwork me. And I'm Kobe Bryant because I put the work in. And, I think before he passed, he was really starting to transition into a great influential leadership speaker. I watched a lot of his talks, and, he talked to different universities, and man, the Mamba mentality is a real thing. And that's why I respect him so much, is because Mamba mentality isn't just a mantra. This was what he lived, and it's why he got the accolades and that he so richly deserved, because he worked really hard. He led his teammates well. His teammates that didn't get along with him were those ones that were just there for the check, just there for the fame. But if you're really here to win a championship, if you're really here to do what our job is supposed to do, you love working with him because he's going to push you. And I heard you say that you give your team members stuff that they're not quite ready for. That's what a great leader does. That's what Kobe did. Kobe was pushing them. Hey, you might not be ready to hit this next level as a player, but I need you to get here. We're going to win. And, so that's why, that was a devastating blow. I actually have, at my 9-to-5 job, I actually have his book on my desk, Mamba mentality right there. And it reminds me every day because you're not always going to be motivated every day. I don't care how great of a leader you are. I don't care. You're just going to have but that's my reminder. I got to outwork everybody. I got to have the Mamba mentality. I have a team to lead. I have a family that needs me, to be a great leader at what I do, so that I can provide for them. So that's why it's a reminder for me. Did you have something to say about that?
Absolutely. For me, as a leader, even a father, I'm a father of 2 young children. My whole biggest responsibility in life to raise productive kids, right? And for me, that's their potential. That's where they at. So I'm going to make sure that they get to their potential. And the only way I can get them there to define the purpose for them, right?
Yeah.
Because the only way to get to your potential is to your purpose. And Kobe Bryant understood his purpose. His purpose was to win championship, period.
Right.
Basketball was just a tool for him.
Right.
Because I bet you, if he wanted to sell cars, he was going to be the best salesman out there.
Right. Because no one's going to outwork him.
Nobody was outworking him. What people do not understand about Kobe got to a point in his life that he felt like he'd done it all. And that's where he adopted the alter ego, the Black Mamba. Right? That was for him, it's what's called alter ego in psychology. That was a state of mind. When he got there, he couldn't smile.
Right.
When he got to be the Black Mamba during the games, right? He was done. And for me, for a lot of people who struggle in life, it is okay to adopt an alter ego. Like something you almost feel like out-of-body experience. Jarvis is like, and then you could see yourself work at work. It's like, right? So, it's sad. Kobe Bryant died about 6 months ago. And I said, when he died, January 25th, I said, my children will always look at life before Kobe death and after Kobe death. Because
Mm-hmm.
for me, again, I don't want to argue basketball, but I think he's the best athlete ever lived.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, bigger than and Michael Jordan, bigger than LeBron, even though I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
LeBron fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at his journey, right, he talked the talk, he walked the walk. He, he had the Kwame Brown for his. I mean, he had players that
Right.
nobody heard about,
Right.
right? But he was able to do something. So yeah, Kobe, when it comes to outworking everyone, it's great reminder. Even for me, is like, and I'm still looking for that alter ego for me. Who is it in my head that a place I go to outwork everyone? Great perspective. I'm gonna read his book. I haven't, but I will.
Man, it's awesome. Another person that has an alter ego when they take it up a notch is Beyonce. She says she turns into Sasha Fierce.
Mhm.
So when you look at these super powerful people, the best of what they do, it's because they have something else that takes them to a different place. So maybe that's something. Maybe we're on to something with getting these alter egos. So we got to figure out our alter egos.
Yeah. So if you haven't read, about alter egos, it's a real thing. A lot of
Yeah.
athletes have them, right? A lot of
Right.
athletes have, a lot of singers have them, right? Because at one point you become the best at what you do.
Right.
And if you're not driven, you'll stop working.
Right.
Right? Like, for example, Bill Gates doesn't have to work. Neither
Right.
a lot of Mark Cuban doesn't have to work. But
Yep.
those people are driven by something a lot bigger than money, a lot bigger than a lot of things in life.
Yeah, that's so true. What is one trait you think every leader should have?
One trait, everything. I think servant heart, right? For me, if you don't know anything about leadership, but you have a servant heart, you're here to serve other people, you could improve yourself. So if you don't go to learn, if you don't take a course, you don't take training, you don't take coaching, you don't do anything about leadership, one thing that you should have is servant heart. Once you
Mm-hmm.
have that in your heart, everything else can be learned.
Yeah, yeah. So I know as leaders, we experience failure from time to time. How has failures shaped your leadership?
I'm so fortunate. I live in Fort Worth, and my way to work every day, there's a bridge, and under the bridge is a
Mm-hmm.
homeless man lives under the bridge, and I give what I can sometimes, or but that homeless man drives me more than he knows, right?
Mm.
Because in the back of my head, as an immigrant, I have a chip in my shoulder, but I know, you know, I'm a heart attack away from being homeless, right? I'm whatever away from being homeless. So that homeless man drives me every day because I work so hard not to see my family or anybody that I love there. So he drives me. So in that perspective, failure drives me every day because even if I don't fail, I'm looking at other people who fails and try to learn from them. I follow products that fail. Yesterday, Pizza Hut closed uh, 300, 900 stores, and I have clients,
Wow.
that own restaurants, right? So I want to learn everything what those restaurants did that made them fail, so I could consult my restaurants not to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, yeah, failure drives me every day. I failed a lot in life too. First business I had back in 2007, I opened a food safety business. We used to teach managers at restaurants, food safety, food handling, and leadership skills. That business failed, even though there's a need for it. But then I went back and said, it's not the product that I was selling,
Mm-hmm.
it's marketing that I was pursuing. I didn't have any
Mm-hmm.
marketing skills. So failure drives me every day. If it's me or somebody else, you bet I'm going to learn it and I'm trying to avoid it.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So leadership, is it something that's innate? Is it just natural, or is it something that can be learned and taught over time?
It's a great question. I think this is one of the most asked questions in leadership seminars. I truly believe, as I said, anybody can be a leader, but not everybody should be a leader. I don't think it's in everyone in us. I think
Mm-hmm.
some people have the tendency to be better leaders than others.
Hmm.
As you said about Kobe Bryant, you always could outwork other people to be better. Some people have the tendencies, some people don't. I think it could be trained, right? And I don't think I should answer this question because I have a company that train leaders.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think it's trained. What about you? You think it's either born in it or not, or?
So I think it kind of goes back to your point earlier. I think you can light a fire under people, but people also have to have that fire already kind of inside them. I think if you already have it inside of you, I think it can be developed more, and you can learn more and you can grow. But if you don't have that natural, like if you don't have like a natural leadership in you, I don't think that people will buy into you as much as quickly, because there's just something that a leader has that you can't like put your finger on. You know what I mean? Like it can't be bought. Like it's just something about a leader that you're drawn to. And so I don't think it can be manufactured, but I do think if you already have it inside of you, I think it can be just you know turn into a much bigger. I think leaders can always be greater. Now, can people be taught certain leadership competencies? Of course can people, but I think those people end up being the managers, the ones that are just kind of taught different things. But a true leader, I think it is innate. And I think it's just this natural thing that we have. And there's some people who just don't know how to lead, don't care anything about leading. Like this podcast is going to turn some people off because it's about leadership. You know what I mean? Like some people are just like, that's not my thing or whatever. Some people are afraid of the moment. Some people and then some people have seen other leaders that are toxic, or they've seen other leaders be like, they don't want that responsibility of having to be at that level, because with that, with being a great leader comes a lot of a lot of pressure, a lot of long hours, and if you're not built to withstand the pressure, if you're not built to withstand long hours, if you're not built to withstand like just the everyday just in and out craziness that you have to maneuver, like to us it would probably be like nothing, but if you think about the things we do every single day, the average person will get in there and be like, no, I can't do this, because it's juggling so much. A lot of people just want to do one job and one job only and go home to their family. Leaders, it changes every day. It changes every minute. You can go in, I can't count the number of times, it's pretty much every day that you walk in with a plan. These are the things I'm going to accomplish today. And before you even 5 minutes into your day, everything has changed. And that's where, we have to always, I heard somebody say you have to be like an octopus. You have to have like 8 arms, to really deal with everything you have to deal with. But one thing I've learned that I do want to say is, when those challenges come and those curveballs get thrown your way, like you can't give into the chaos. You still have to go in and get everything that you set out to do accomplished. You just have to figure out these curveballs along the way, because anytime you set out to do something, and you don't get it accomplished, you're gonna feel less accomplished, and your confidence is gonna start weighing in. So you have to still go in, like don't give into the chaos. Chaos is gonna occur, but that's why you're a leader. Don't give into the chaos. Still accomplish what you set out to accomplish and deal with the chaos as well. So I think that's where, like you talked about earlier, man, you were talking about your plans and how you're real structured with those plans. Like that's why plans are in place, because if you walk in with no plan, the chaos is going to totally knock you out of the park, because you didn't know what you were going to accomplish today anyway. And so now you're really not going to accomplish anything because this chaos happens. So I think having a real strategic plan, and that plan is going to help you mitigate the chaos.
You're absolutely right. It's almost like a football coach, could be down 7-0 or,
Mm-hmm.
or 2 touchdowns, and they either abandon their game plan or stick to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Belichick is known about sticking to his
Mm-hmm.
game plan,
Right.
right? I'm gonna run the ball. I know I'm down 2 touchdowns. I'm gonna run the ball. Right?
Right.
Some people like, oh, well, you're down, 2 touchdowns. Let's start throwing the ball. It's still the first 5 minutes of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sticking to your game plan is extremely important, regardless of the circumstances. but you have to have the ability to pivot, right? Say, all
Right.
right, you got to pivot right here. You got to know what's important. You got to know what's urgent at the moment. But for a lot of people that get turned out turned off in leadership, let me
Mm-hmm.
ask them a question: who is leading your family?
Mm,
Right? Because
mm,
leadership is not a title that I get paid to do. It's an
right.
honor. It's a service that I serve other people. And I
Mm-hmm.
promise you, if you're not leading your kids, somebody else is.
Mm,
A female or a male, if you're father or mother, if you are not leading your family, somebody else will.
that's so
Right?
true.
Who would you like to lead your family? Do you want Netflix? Do you want Jack in the Box? Who do you want to lead your family? Right?
Right.
Somebody is leading your family right now. And if you don't step up, it's your loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all, Covey said a long time ago, look back at your life, and that's. But I want to give anybody this example. Imagine you are 80 years old, sitting around a table with your kids,
Mm-hmm.
and what would you think they say about you? What will they say about you? Will they say he worked more than anybody else, or he hugged
Mm-hmm.
us more than anybody else? He was
Mm-hmm.
generous, he had integrity, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are leading your family regardless how you think or how you feel about it,
That's right.
right? The point is, you want to be intentional about it or not intentional? Because you're doing it.
Man, that's so true. Man, that's good. Before we get out of here, I kind of want to just get your take on 2020 has been crazy. So we've had, we talked about Kobe's death. Like that was enough for me. I was like, okay, that's the tragedy for 2020. That's the chaos for 2020. And then we had the coronavirus is here. And then we had the social injustice, and all this has been going on. How has all of this influenced and impacted how you lead?
You know, um, I don't want to, but there's three things right now. There's three crises we're dealing with. There's a health crisis, and
Mm-hmm.
it's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
There's a social justice crisis. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But the not obvious problem is leadership problem. Right? We
Mm-hmm.
have lack of leadership in society today.
Right.
Right? And I don't care if
You said it, not me.
I mean it don't matter. It don't matter how you look at it. If you're on the left or the right, the truth
Right.
is we have a leadership problem in this.
Problem. Right.
Right? So 2020, it's been challenging for me from three different perspectives because I manage health department. I have a company to teach leadership, right? As a minority, I'm extremely concerned and involved on social justice fights,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because for me is I cannot wait till people come after me to stand up for justice,
I
right?
love that. Right.
Because if I'm not there for, if I'm not there helping people going through the process, I will not find anybody help me through the process.
Right.
Right. So for me, those three crises right now will define 2020 forever: the
Yeah.
health, the social justice, and the leadership.
Leadership. So true. Man, before we get out of here, I'd love for you to plug, any business or anything you got that you want to plug, your lead with integrity, anything you want to plug, man, get it out there.
Jarvis, and if your audience or even you, if there is any way I can help you win in life or business, I want to get in touch with me. Right. If I have a free group that has a lot of value and it's lead with integrity. But if you want to work one-on-one with me, let me know. If you want to even if you want to do it in a group setting, let me know. I have an affordable mastermind. It's probably the only mastermind that pays attention to the tension in your life and your business at the same time. But above all, honestly, I just want to serve you. I want to serve your audience. And if there's any way I can serve you guys, let me know. I believe what Andy Stanley, always say, I can do for one what I wish I can do for all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I might not be able to serve everyone, but I promise you I will at least serve one person, and I'll do the best of my ability to serve them well.
Man, I love that. Well, man, thank you so much for your time, man. Really insightful, man. It's been this conversation went even better than I thought it was going to go. Like I knew it was going to go great, but just your insight on everything was perfect, man. Keep doing what you're doing. I love the platform that you've built, and we'll definitely be in touch soon. And for listeners out there, thank you. We will catch y'all next time.
Thank you, sir. And let me know if there's anything I could do for you.